So when I pulled into the campground on my last trip, I looked down the side of my camper, and there's a long scrape all the way down the side of the camper. And I said, what in the world caused that? And I came to the conclusion it's a tree branch. Somehow a tree branch ran across the side of my camper and put a nice scratch down the camper in the fiberglass and also on the stickers. Now fortunately it's not very deep, but it just kind of unsightly. I was very disappointed because I don't remember hitting a tree branch. I mean, I always look for tree branches as I pull into sites, and I came to the conclusion that once I was driving on this trip on kind of a little bit of a back road to a campsite, and there was construction going on. And so it was a 2-lane road, and they had the road closed for something they were working on the road. So they had just directed off the road and on kind of the shoulder. And there was a lot of trees there. And I don't remember hearing it, so you'd think it would, but I guess the branch was thick enough to hit this, but not so loud. So I'm going to guess that when the camper went off the road, a tree branch scraped against it. And I didn't even hear it, I didn't feel it, so I didn't know it. And so this is just a supposition. But that's what I'm guessing going to happen. So someday when you're camping, no matter how careful you are to stay away from tree branches, this may happen to you eventually. So what I've done is I've washed the camper, but you can still see the scrape down the side. So what I'm going to do is use some polishing compound and rub it out and see if that removes the scrape, just to make it look better. Now, when I first discovered this scrape, I was at the Grand Canyon Railroad campground, and oftentimes when I go out into campgrounds, I meet other GeoPro owners if we see them there. Normally it doesn't happen very often. I meet, maybe one at a different campground, or I might say something to, but at this particular campground there was 4 GeoPros, including mine, at this campground. And unbelievably, they were all FD19s. Unbelievable. I mean, we hardly ever see another GeoPro, and here we saw 4, or at least 3 others, plus mine, FD19s. And the interesting part is, 2 of the people who had these campers recognized me from this channel. Or at least recognized Neil, and they'd watch my videos. They talked to me and said, yeah, I know you from the YouTube channel. Well, that's pretty cool. So if you see me at a campground or you see Neil, feel free to come up and say hi. I had this long conversation with a gentleman named Nick, and he's from Michigan. And one of the things I told him about the scrape, and he said, well, you need to check your roof. It might have hit your roof too. And I said, oh, I don't think so. Didn't think it hit my roof. I mean, how would it hit the side and the roof? So when I went back, I looked, and sure enough, there's a scrape along the roof too. Now there's a rubber membrane on the roof of the GeoPros, and it doesn't look like it put any holes in the membrane, but it definitely scuffed it up. So I'm going to have to think of something to fix that too. But right now I'm going to focus first on just fixing this scrape, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do with the roof. Okay, this is turtle wax polishing compound. It's a little gentler than a rubbing compound, so you don't want to use a rubbing compound if you can avoid it. Just use a polishing compound. Now some people have said you could just take some petroleum jelly, like Vaseline, and rub it on there and polish it off, and sometimes it'll go away there, but I think this one I'm going to try with the polishing compound. So you just need a soft cloth. It's a polishing compound. We'll put it on and rub it in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a little bit of a drop on this microfiber cloth. About that much. And I'm just going to take where the streak is and put that cloth, that stuff on there, and just rub it. Now they say you should use a machine for this, but I don't have a machine, so I'm just going to do it by hand. You can do it by hand, they just said it works better with a machine. So I'm just going to have to rub it pretty good with my arms, pretending it's a machine. Once I've got it rubbed in, I'm going to take the drier part of the cloth and just buff it out. I can't get it on the sticker because it doesn't work on the sticker. I'll have to do something else for the sticker, I don't know what. I think I did a pretty good job of covering it up. It's not completely gone, but it's very light now. And so what I need to do is probably wax the camper. And then I think it'll be almost impossible to pick out unless you know where you're looking. To cover over the tree damage in the roof, I'm going to use this self-leveling Dicor. It's white, so it'll match the roof. And I'm just going to put a little bead across the thing. Even though I looked at it and there's no holes through the roof membrane, I'm going to seal it up anyways, just in case the raised parts will get weaker over time and cause a leak. To better safe than sorry. So I got this one tube, it was like 15 bucks, and I'll put it on there. Okay, to keep the Dicor, which self-levels, from running out too much down and getting onto this guttering, blocking up the guttering and maybe even getting on the awning, I made this little painter's tape dam. So basically I just taped the painter's tape down the edge of the camper where the damage is, and then I kind of folded it over to get a little kind of wall just in case it leaks, and hopefully it won't go past this, it won't even get on this, but if it does, that'll stop from getting too far out when it self-levels, and I can pull that off at the end. So let's see how that goes. Okay, I ran a bead the entire length of the scrape. I'm not going to try to level it out with my finger or anything. It's supposed to be self-leveling. So as it sits here in the sun, in the floor of the sun, it's in the 90s today. It's supposed to be dry. That's going to hopefully level out and it'll look a little bit better. And then when it settles, I'll come back, record it, and see how it did. May not look that great, but it's going to prevent that scrape from ever getting on any kind of leak. Okay, it's dried now. It hasn't leveled as much as I thought it would, so it's still a little bit raised, but maybe it'll level more over time, but it still looks all right. I mean, it doesn't look great because it'd be better if it wasn't there, but at least I know now you won't get any leaks on this roof. I think that'll stay pretty well. It's very white right now because, of course, it's a white sealant like all the other sealant on here was. And so it's been there for 2 years and got a bit of weather and probably roofed tree sap on it. So it'll probably go more gray over time and blend in better. But as I said, I don't know if I really needed it, but I'm glad it's there now. I think that'll prevent any rain or weathering from getting on that tree scrape. Hopefully I don't get another tree scrape. But I think that'll work. So the end result of the whole tree scrape is I get this Dicor seal across the top of my camper, and down the side of the camper I think the scrape is not really visible anymore when I use the rubbing copper, except for on that sticker there. Couldn't use the rubbing copper on the sticker, but I think the rest of it is, unless you really know where it is, you're not going to see it. So best that could happen, I think the best job I could do, I mean obviously the best thing is I've never hit the tree branch, the two branches, but given that we did hit it, I think that's the best outcome. I think the trailer has not really have any long-term impact from this, other than the little bit of unsightly of a seal down on the edge. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing so you're notified every time we get a new video out. Thanks.